Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 17 Shraddha Trai Vibhag Yoga, the divisions of faith. Ataha Shaptadasha Adhyaya. 17.1 Arjun Uvach Ye Shastravadim Utstrijya Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha Tesham Nishtatu Ka Krishna Sattvam Aho Rajastamaha.
Hare Krishna, Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scriptures but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in patience, or in ignorance?
17.2 Shri Bhagwan Uvach Trividha Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sa Swabhavaja Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi Cheti Tam Shrunu.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds in goodness, in patience, or in ignorance. Now, hear about this.
17.3 Sattvanurupa Sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata Shraddhamayo Ayam Purusho Yo Yat Shraddha Sa Evacha.
O son of Bharat, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired.
17.4 Yajante Satvika Devan Yaksha Rakshamsi Rajasaha Pretan Bhuta Ganamschanye Yajante Tamasa Janaha.
Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, those in the mode of patience worship the demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits.
17.5 and 6 Ashastra Vihitam Ghoram Tapyante Ye Tapo Janaha Dambha Ahankara Samyukta Kamaraga Balanvitaha Karshayanta Sharirastham Bhutagramam Achetasah Mam Chaivantaha Sharirastham Tan Vidya Asura Nishchayan.
Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish, and who torture the material elements of the body as well as the supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons.
17.7 Aharastua api sarvasya trividho bhavati priyah yagnastapastatha danam tesham bhedam imam shunu.
Even the food each person prefers is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Now, hear of the distinctions between them.
17.8 Ayuhu sattva balarogya shukha priti vivardhanaha rashya snigdha sthiraritya ahara satvika priyah.
Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart.
17.9 Katva amla lavanati ushna tikshna ruksha vedahinah ahara rajasasyesta dukha sokamaya pradaha.
Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of patience. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease.
17.10 Yatayamam gatarasham puti paryusitam chayat uchishtam api chamedhyam bhojanam tamasa priyam.
Foods prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness.
17.11 Afalakankshibiryajno yagno viddidishto ya ijjate yashtavyam eveti manah samadhaya sa satvikah.
of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the direction of the scriptures as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness.
17.12 अभिसन्धाय तु फलं दम्भार्थम् अपि चैव यत् इज्यते भारतश्रेष्ठ तं यज्ञं विद्धि राजसम्.
But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion.
17.13 विधिहीनम् अशृष्टानं मन्त्रहीनम् अदक्षिणं श्रद्धाविरहितं यज्ञं तामसं परिचक्षते.
Any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of scriptures, without distribution of prasadam, spiritual food, without chanting of Vedic hymns and remunerations to the priests, and without faith, is considered to be in the mode of ignorance.
17.14 देवद्विज गुरुप्रज्ञ पूजनं शौचम् अर्जवम् ब्रह्मचर्यम् अहिंसा च शारीरं तप उच्यते.
Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence.
17.15 अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यासनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते.
Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature.
17.16 मनः प्रसादः सौम्यत्वं मौनम् आत्मविनिग्रह भावसंशुद्धिरिति एतत् तपोमानसम् उच्यते.
And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind.
17.17 श्रद्धया परया तप्तं तपस्तत्त्रिविधं नरैः अफलाकाङ्क्षिभिर्युक्तैः सात्विकं परिचक्षते.
Threefold austerity, performed with transcendental faith by man, not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness.
17.18 सत्कारमानपूजार्थं तपोदम्भेन चैव यत् क्रियते तद् इह प्रोक्तं राजसं चलमध्रुवम्.
Penance performed after pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent.
17.19 मूढग्राहेणात्मनो यत् पीडया क्रियते तपः परस्योत्सादनार्थं वा तत्तामसम् उद्धारितम्.
Penance performed after foolishness with self torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
17.20 दातव्यम् इति यद्दानं दीयतेनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्.
Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness.
17.21 यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थं फलम् उद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टं तद्दानं राजसं स्मृतम्.
Sorry, there's a box which is in the way. Yes, thank you. But charity performed with the expectation of some return or with a desire for fruitive results or in a grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion.
17.22 अदेशकाले यद्दानम् अपात्रेभ्यश्च दीयते असत्कृतम् अवज्ञातं तत्तामसम् उदारतम्.
And charity performed at an improper place, at an improper time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
17.23 Om Tat Sat Iti Nirdesho Brahmanastrividah Smritah Brahmanasतेन वेदाश्च यज्ञाश्च विहिता पुरा.
From the beginning of creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by the Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme.
17.24 Tasmadom iti udaritya yagnatana tapakriyah pravartante vidhanokta tatatam brahmavadinam.
Therefore, transcendentalists undertake performances of sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with the scripture regulations begin always with Om to attain the Supreme.
17.25 Tad iti anabhisandhaya palam yagna tapakriyah danakriyaश्च vivita kriyante mokshakangshibihi.
Without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifice, penance, and charity with the word Tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement.
17.26 and 27 सद्भावे साधुभावे च सद् इति एतत् प्रयुज्यते प्रशस्ते कर्माणि तथा सत्सद् शब्दपार्थयुज्यते यज्ञे तपसि दाने च स्थितिः सद् इति चोच्यते कर्म चैव तद् अर्थीयं तद् इति एव भिद्यते.
The absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by the word Sat. The performer of such sacrifice is also called Sat, as all are works of sacrifice, penance, and charity, which, true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme Person or Son of Prutha.
17.28 अश्रद्धया हुतं दत्तं तपस्तप्तं कृतं च यत् असत् इति उच्यते पार्थ न च तत्प्रेत्य नो इह.
Anything done as sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme or Son of Prutha is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and the next. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण ओम तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्येयं योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे श्रद्धात्रय विभाग योग नाम सप्तदशो अध्यायः. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Sanchi Mataji and Puja Mataji. I really liked your recitation of the Sanskrit, Sanchi Mataji. Your pronunciation and meter is so nice. That's wonderful. And Puja Mataji, you have a nice, strong voice. It's nice to hear your chanting.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare, thank you.
Hare Krishna. So I shall share my screen. So today we'll continue with the reading of chapter 17, and we'll do text 8, 9, and 10 today. And the reason being, text number 8 and 9 do not have a purport. And normally we give focus to our study and discussion based on Srila Prabhupada's purport. Hare Krishna. So we'll say the Mangala Charanam prayers first. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadi Shatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So welcome, dear devotees, to today's chat session. For anyone joining us for the first time, warm welcome to you. So previously to this verse, Krishna has been explaining that one's faith is dependent upon the modes of nature one is situated. And Krishna explained in the previous verse that one can recognize which mode one is situated by observing the food one eats, the sacrifices one performs, the austerities one undertakes, and lastly, the charity that one gives. By observing these activities, one can tell which mode a particular person is situated in. And then one can have an idea of the type of faith that that particular individual has. So in this section, the Lord is going to explain the various types of food. Food in the mode of goodness, food in the mode of passion, and food in the mode of ignorance. And thus one can recognize not only others, but for ourselves. We should first, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur always says, before we look to judge others, before we look to evaluate others, we should first look at ourselves. And actually, one who is of sober nature on the spiritual path, their focus is mainly on themselves. They are not out there to evaluate others. The material tendency is, if we can find some fault in someone else, if we can minimize someone else by observing their deficiencies, that will uplift ourselves, both in our own estimation of ourselves and also in other people's estimation of ourselves. So the Acharya says, one who is on the genuine spiritual path does not do that. They look mainly at themselves. So in these verses that we are reading in the Bhagavad Gita, and today's verses, we should read and evaluate the verses in relation to ourselves. So text number 18. Ayu Sattvam Bala Rogya Sukha Priti Vivardhanaha Rasyaha Snigdha Stira Ridya Ahara Sattvika Priyaha. Food dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. just by looking at this picture, it's pleasing to the eye. Katumla lavatna tusna tiksna ruksha vidha hinaha ahahara rajasas yesta dukkha soka maya pradha. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Text number 10. Yata yamam gatarasam putti paryusitam chayat uschitam api cham medyam bhojanam tamasa priyam. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants are untouchable things, is dear to those in the mode of darkness. I'll just come back to that. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. This is its only purpose. In the past, great authorities selected those foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. Some other foods, such as baked corn and molasses, while not very palatable in themselves, can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. They are then in the mode of goodness. All these foods are pure by nature. They are quite distinct from untouchable things like meat and liquor. Fatty foods are mentioned in the 8th verse, have no connection with animal fat obtained by slaughter. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is the most wonderful of all foods. Milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. It is only through brute mentality that this killing goes on. The civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is the way of subhumans. Protein is amply available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, etc. Foods in the mode of passion which are bitter, too salty, or too hot, or overly mixed with red pepper, cause misery by reducing the mucus in the stomach, leading to disease. Food in the mode of ignorance or darkness are essentially those that are not fresh. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to the Lord, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. Because they are decomposing, such foods give a bad odor, which often attract people in this mode, but repulses those in the mode of goodness. Remnants of food may be eaten only when they are part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord, or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness, and they increase infection or disease. Such foods, although they are very palatable to persons in the mode of darkness, are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mood of goodness. The best food is the remnants of what is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says that he accepts preparations of vegetables, flour, and milk when offered with devotion, patram, pushpam, palam, toyam. Of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts. But it is also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared by the injunctions of the scripture and offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, long ago, because such food is transcendental. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, eatable, and palatable for all persons, one should offer food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. There's a famous English saying, you are what you eat. In connection with this verse, there's also a similar verse spoken by Lord Krishna to Uddhava in the Uddhava Gita. The Uddhava Gita is found in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the 25th chapter, 28th verse, the Lord tells Uddhava, food that is wholesome, pure, and obtained without difficulty is in the mode of goodness. Food that gives immediate pleasure to the senses is in the mode of passion. And food that is unclean and causes distress is in the mode of ignorance. So now a very beautiful summary by the Lord in this verse, distinguishing the different types of food. So we all know food is such an important part of our existence. One of us, we eat sometimes 2 times a day, 3 times a day, sometimes even more. And everything we put into our mouth has an effect on our consciousness. So therefore, it requires discrimination, careful discrimination, what we put into our mouth. Prabhupada nicely writes, what is the purpose of food? Prabhupada says the purpose of food is threefold. One is to increase the duration of life. 2 is to purify the mind. And 3 is to aid bodily strength. Prabhupada says this is the only purpose. We all know that in Ayurveda, food is seen as medicine. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada is given a hint of that when he talks about, can't recognize it here, but he says when we eat a certain type of food, it causes too much of mucus. And the science of Ayurveda, there are different substances in the body, air, bile, and mucus. And these 3 ingredients, if they become imbalanced, then they cause disease. So certain types of food, if they're wrong type of food, they increase mucus. And when we increase mucus, then we see our noses get bunged up. We feel our sinuses are bunged up. And there are so many diseases. In the same way, certain types of food increase the secretion of bile. And the increased secretion of bile causes so much imbalance in the body. And the same with air. When there's too much of air in the body, we become bloated, we feel uncomfortable, we feel sick. So when one falls in the consciousness to take food, to satisfy the senses only, for the sake of taste, then we will fall prey to eating food in the mode of passion and ignorance. we all know for spiritual advancement, we need to stay clear of the mode of passion and ignorance because it just lowers our consciousness. So any food that takes us towards the mode of passion and ignorance, it's going to lower our consciousness. And it's going to take us away from our ultimate goal. And what is the ultimate goal? Prabhupada says the ultimate goal is to become more and more detached from the material and more attached to the spiritual. That is the purpose of the human form of life. So the moment one falls in the consciousness to take food to satisfy the tongue for the sake of taste, then we will get into trouble. As Krishna says to Uddhava, food that gives immediate pleasure to the senses is in the mode of passion. So we need to become very careful that we do not fall prey to eating mainly for the purpose of satisfying the senses. Now, all of us know that the Mahaprasadam of the Lord is very nice. And when we take the Mahaprasadam of the Lord, we become purified in heart and mind. So Srila Prabhupada, when he was in this planet, every day he should have an arrangement. After the Mahaprasadam comes out, he would have the Mahaprasadam distributed to the devotees, just like in Bhaktivedanta manner and in our temples, Mahaprasadam is distributed to the devotees. So there was one devotee, one Mataji, he was given the service of distributing the Mahaprasadam. So she would go to the devotees and she was ready to serve them. And she was starting to get a big headache. Some devotees will say, hey, Mataji, no, don't give me that. I'll have just the kachori. I'll have the pakora. Oh, give me the chutney. So everyone was being so selective that this Mataji was getting a headache. According to their taste, they only wanted that Mahaprasadam. So she went to Srila Prabhupada one day and revealed her mind. He said, Srila Prabhupada, my service is to distribute the Mahaprasadam, but it's becoming a big headache for me because devotees are selecting what Mahaprasadam they want according to their taste. Then Srila Prabhupada said, this is not good. Although it is Mahaprasadam, if one starts discriminating Mahaprasadam on the basis of one's taste, that is material consciousness, because all of Mahaprasadam is transcendental. And then he instructed this Mataji, every day when you get the Mahaprasadam, you mulch it, you mix it up, you mulch it. So you don't see any pakora, you don't see any kachori, you don't see any chutney, you don't see halava. Just mix everything in one. And then you go and you distribute. So this Mataji said, wow, Srila Prabhupada, that is a very nice idea. So next day she mixed all the Mahaprasadam. And then she went and she said, Mahaprasadam, yes, you want Mahaprasadam? Yes. Okay, take. The devotee looking, what is this? It's Mahaprasadam. Srila Prabhupada said, I must serve like this to you. So Srila Prabhupada was teaching the devotees a very important lesson. That prasadam should not be discriminated upon on the basis of taste. Because the moment we discriminate on the basis of taste, we fall into the trap of satisfying, particularly tongue. All Mahaprasadam should be honored equally. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions something nice there. Where is this? I'm losing it now. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada says there are people who select their food on the basis of the smell. On the basis of smell, they are attracted. And Prabhupada mentions that one gets attracted to a particular smell of food based on the nature. There's one story of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Once Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Burma to preach Krishna consciousness. And, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would have the devotees cook for the deities, offer to the deities, and then they would eat and then they would distribute. And all the food for the deities are cooked in ghee, very nicely made ghee. So the devotees were cooking for the deities in ghee, and the smell was going into the neighborhood. And then the residents around, they started to come and say, "What is that smell? It's so horrible, the smell." Yet those who are in the mode of goodness, when you smell cooking, when ghee, food is being cooked in ghee, it smells so purifying. Like sometimes we go next to the deity kitchen and you can smell the devotees cooking in ghee. It's so purifying. But these people were being repulsed. And these same people who were complaining, they were observing a particular festival. And this festival, they would have a big pot in the center of the village. And in this pot would be all sorts of decomposing bodies being boiled in a liquid. And then they would drink the liquid. And that smell was so obnoxious. It was so obnoxious. So for the devotees, that smell was repulsive, but for these people, it was attractive. So according to a particular mode of nature one has, one would be attracted to a particular type of food. Just like if one is in the mode of passion, then one would like lots of chili, lots of salt, and the food should be very hot and pungent. And if the food does not have that chili and that salt, then it seems very bland to such people. Like food in the mode of goodness that's cooked, it has a certain flavor, it has a certain nature. And if people in the mode of passion, you'll see sometimes they want to put more salt, put more chili. So that is not how the type of food we offer to the deity. The devotees of Lord Krishna, at least in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, every time before they take prasad, before they eat, to protect themselves from falling in the consciousness of eating for satisfying the tongue, they recite this beautiful prayer written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Prasad Sevaya. And the prayer is Bhaire Sarira Ravidyajal Jodendriya Taikal Jive Fele Vishaya Sagare Taramatya Jivati Lobarmoy Sudharmati Takejita Katina Samsare Krishna Boradoyamoy Kori Bora Jiva Jai Swapashad Anadila Vai Senam Ritapao Radha Krishna Gunagao Premedako Chaitanya Nitai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai. So the devotees of the Lord, every time before they take prasadam, they recite this prayer and they remember the translation. And the translation is very insightful. Oh brothers, this material body is a network of ignorance, and the senses are one's deadly enemies, for they throw the soul into the ocean of material sense enjoyment. Among the senses, the tongue is the most voracious. and verily wicked. It is very difficult to control the tongue in the world. Oh, brothers, Lord Krishna is very merciful. Just to control the tongue, he has given us the remnants of his own food. Now, please eat this nectarian grains while singing the glories of the lordships, Shri Radha and Krishna, and in love call out Chaitanya Nitai. So when the devotees eat, we say they don't eat, they honor prasadam. That's the terminology Srila Prabhupada spoke about. Devotees don't eat, they honor prasadam. And what that basically means, they see the prasadam, as prasadam means the mercy. This is the mercy of the Lord. Krishna has come in the form of his remnants. Now let me honor this prasadam and feel grateful for this mercy that we're receiving. So this is the consciousness that is taught by our acharyas for the Vaishnavas. This is how the Vaishnavas partake of food. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives some focus on the word remnants. You can see in this verse, the word is used here, food consisting of remnants and untouchable things. So Prabhupada gives some very important explanations on the terminology of remnants. Firstly, what does remnants mean? Remnants essentially means food that is eaten by others and left. Like sometimes you may have a plate of food, you may eat some of it, and some may be left. That which is left is called remnants. And Prabhupada says, how do we view such remnants? Prabhupada says, remnants of food may be eaten only when they are part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness and they increase infection or disease. So Prabhupada is drawing the distinction here. There's two types of remnants. There's remnants of the food eaten by the Lord and left, which is prasadam, and food that is eaten by the spiritual master and then left. And then there's food that is eaten by others, not by the Lord or the spiritual master or the Vaishnavas. Those are food we consider in the mode of darkness. And if you take them, you increase infection or disease. But the remnants of the Lord and the spiritual master and the saintly devotees, they are very, very powerful. Very powerful for spiritual advancement. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written very nicely in the Antya Lila. He says, therefore set aside your shame and disgust and eat the Vaishnav's remnants. For by doing so, you will be able to fulfill all your desires. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, you eat the food of the Vaishnavas, the remnants, what is left over. Then all of your spiritual desires will be fulfilled. The remnants of Krishna's food are called Mahaprasada. The remnants of food, the remnants of Krishna's food are called Mahaprasadam. But the remnants of the devotee are given the name Mahaprasadam. So when the Lord eats and he gives us his remnants, that is called Mahaprasadam. When the spiritual master or the saintly devotees eat that Mahaprasadam and they leave some over for us, then that is called Mahaprasadam. Maha means great. So Mahaprasadam means great mercy. And Mahaprashadam means great, great mercy. The dust of a devotee's feet, the water that washed his feet, and the remnants of his food are three very powerful aids to spiritual practice. All revealed scriptures loudly declare again and again one can attain the supreme goal of ecstatic love for Krishna through the use of these three substances. So, my dear devotees, please listen to me, for I insist on this point. Please keep in these three substances. Keep faith in these three substances and render service to them with complete faith. Through these three substances, you will taste the joy of sacred love found in the holy name of Krishna, and you will win Krishna's pleasure. This has been proved by the example of Kalidas. So in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's one very nice devotee. His name was Kalidas. Kalidas was the relative, the uncle of Raghunath Das Goswami. And Kalidas, he had this wonderful quality. He had complete faith and devotion in the remnants of the foodstuff of the devotees. And he was a great devotee who constantly chanted the holy names throughout his activities. His devotion to eating the remnants of the Vaishnavas resulted in receiving the extraordinary blessings from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The blessings give so much mercy to anyone who has faith in the Vaishnava and eats their remnants. So Kalidas, what he would do, he would make it his duty, his life's duty. He would go to the house of the devotees. He would take gifts and he would take the finest foodstuffs. And after they had finished eating, he would ask them for some remnants. And if any of them were unwilling to give him any remnants, then he would take it without their knowledge. He would hide and he would wait for them to throw away the leaf plates on which they had eaten, and then he would lick them clean. Now for us, that may seem, whoa, he's waiting to eat what people left. He would take the plate and lick it. But Kalidas, he had faith that there was something very powerful in the remnants of the Vaishnavas. And then the Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about the visit of Kalidas to Jaru Thakur. Jaru Thakur was a great devotee, but he came from a low caste family. So once Kalidas went to Jaru Thakur's house and he took prasadam for him. And then he wanted Jaru Thakur to give him, he gave him some gift of sweet mangoes. And he gave him the appropriate respect. And he said, if you take these mangoes, I will consider myself most fortunate. And Jaru Thakur said, I am extremely fallen. I come from a low-class person. If I eat in your house, there'll be so much of misfortune that comes to you. And then Kalidas, he preached to Jaru Thakur saying, no, gave so many shastric examples. And he said, you take. And he made sure that Jaru Thakur took. And after he took, Kalidas paid his obeisances, and then he went home. And after that, Kalidas took the opportunity to take the dust. Before that, he took the dust from Jaru Thakur's. He smeared it over his body. And then he decided to take his remnants. And then he went to see where the remnants of the mango, which was in a banana leaf bowl. And then he went and he ate the remnants. And he felt so satisfied licking the mango skins eaten by Jaru Thakur. And Kalidas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated this mentality, this consciousness so much that every day when Mahaprabhu used to go to the Jagannath temple, his servant Govinda would wash Mahaprabhu's feet. And that water that washed Mahaprabhu's feet, Mahaprabhu gave strict instructions. No one should ever come and drink that water. And Mahaprabhu said it so forcefully that no one dared disobey. But one day Kalidas came and he saw Mahaprabhu feet being washed. And he went and he took the first palmful of water and he drank it. And Mahaprabhu didn't say anything. He did that the second time. He drank it. Mahaprabhu didn't say anything. And then he even did it the third time. He drank it and Mahaprabhu didn't say. And then he tried the fourth time. Mahaprabhu said, enough. No, that's enough. The devotees were so surprised. They're thinking, who is this Kalidas that Mahaprabhu would freely allow him to drink the water that washed his lotus feet? And then Mahaprabhu declared that because Kalidas had such faith in the remnants of the Vaishnavas, he was giving Kalidas some extraordinary mercy. So I see time has moved on a bit. I do apologize, I've gone beyond. So I'll stop here, although there's more to discuss. I'll stop here and I'll take any questions, comments or reflections that anyone may have on this subject or on this verse. Or realizations.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful class. Just a couple of things on Mahaprasad. It reminds me of Jagannath Ji's Mahaprasad because it's Mahaprasad because of Vimala Devi having
Yes.
it after Prabhu. So that's a wonderful thought. And the other thing was the pastime of Mahadev. You know, when Narad Ji brings that one grain of rice, and I thought how desperate, you know, the desperation of eating that Mahaprasad is just so amazing. I know Prayojina Prabhu always at the temple says that even if Mahaprasad is moldy, one must eat it. He said, because Maha never gets mold, one, it never gets, but if it is old and you think it's, you should still, because you should still relish it. And so I thought especially the Mahadev pastime is so beautiful in terms of, because when we do our transfer service, they say not one grain should be left in the transfer tray or wasted. All of it should be transferred and passed on to the devotees. So yeah, it's honoring Mahaprasad is so important, isn't it? Or Mahaprasad.
It is. It is. Thank you for those reflections, Emma Mataji. Some nice pastimes you mentioned there.
So nice.
Yes, it all enhances the glories of Mahaprasadam. And we're so fortunate that we get, well, now in lockdown, maybe that good fortune is becoming more pronounced for us, because before we would go to the temple every day and we'll get some Mahaprasadam. But now we are deprived of it. But anyway, we still offer to our deities at home. And our deities also that is considered Mahaprasadam. So we should not think that we're not enjoying Mahaprasadam.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Mataji.
Food that we cook at home, and we offer to the Krishna for our deities at home, I do not always cook it in ghee. What somebody told me that if you cook, sometimes like chapatis and some dal, you maybe put it in the ghee, but vegetables we use oil. But before putting up the plate out for Krishna, we put a bit of a ghee over the different items in a bowl and then present it to Krishna.
Yeah, that's okay, Mataji. That's fine. Sometimes there's different standards for the deities in the temple and the deities at home. So there's no offense there. So according to what you feel your deities need, you cook like that.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
It's an interesting pastime about Mahaprasad, Prabhu.
Yes. You like to share it, Prabhu?
Yes, I think sure you know about it. Narad Muni had the great pleasure of having Mahaprasadam, and he was in an ecstatic mood, and he went to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva asked him, what is this? What is the ecstasy for? Why are you in such a joyous mood? And Naradji related that I had some Mahaprasadam and said, all right, where is my share? Lord Shiva asked. Naradji said, I don't have anything. I think there's a bit of a remnant in this nail. And Lord Shiva saw that and he was ecstatic. And then Parvati Mata arrived and she said, wow, this is wonderful. Where is my share now? Lord Shiva had nothing to offer. I think at that time the Lord appeared and said, "Don't worry, in the Kali Yuga, it will be available profusely." So, as you rightly mentioned, when we get to the temple, we just get Mahaprasad. I think the people of Kali Yuga are very fortunate.
Yes, very fortunate. And that's linked so nicely to what Hema Mataji was explaining. You expanded on the pastimes. And also you were explaining that Parvati, now she's offered the Mahaprasadam first at Jagannath temple before it's distributed.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful pastimes. Thank you.
So much.
Hare Krishna. Supra Mataji, you wanted to add anything?
Yeah, Hare Krishna for beautiful, wonderful class. I just mentioned that my younger sister and her husband both are ISKCON devotee, and I saw them whenever they eat prasadam, they just pray that that mantra you displayed, and I
Yes.
didn't know the meaning of that. Now it's a beautiful meaning. I'm really nice to know that I never knew that what they were saying. Actual meaning is so beautiful. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for displaying that. Hare
Sure,
Krishna.
Mataji. I'll share the slides so everyone could have the.
Yeah, we can
could have
also. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
You can
very
see it
nice.
on the internet too. Yeah, everyone should.
Mhm.
Vaishnavas, this is the Vaishnav culture to explain these, to recite these prayers. Hare
Mhm.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Santosh Mataji.
I like this one text in chapter 9, text 26. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. I think that's so profound and so beautiful. I just
Yes.
wanted to share it with everyone.
Yes, that is a beautiful, beautiful verse. But Krishna is saying, if we have so many doubts whether what we're cooking for the Lord and offering him is accepted, Krishna is saying, if your love and devotion is there, he will certainly accept it. Certainly. Thank you for sharing that, Santosh Mataji. Can you say,
Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu.
yes, Krishna Vani Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, as you said in Mahaprasad, we should not discriminate.
Mm.
So, before, anything Mahaprasad, I was able to accept it. Mostly, as you said, that people, devotees want pakora and kachori and everything, and all the time the chutneys and things like that left over. So I used to bring it, and during week I used to honor it. But now, because of the health problem, I cannot eat certain things like spicy or any certain prasad I cannot accept. So I have to discriminate that I can't eat these. So is that okay? Because
What
of
I've
the
seen,
health.
what I've seen senior devotees do, Mataji, because of health, if they can't take the food that is too rich, they just take a small grain. I will honor this. I will honor some chutney or honor something, and they just take that a little bit. So you can do like that. It's not offense, but just to honor, you say, I will honor.
Yeah.
I will honor. I just take a little grain. You can do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Guru.
Hare Krishna. So there's a few questions that have come up. Let me just see. By Sanchi Mataji, she said, if food is not offered, but is not very fresh, maybe 2 days old, refrigerated, just with the intention not to waste the food, if we eat it, is that okay? I understand that prasadam is an exception. Please advise. Well, if we were to strictly abide or follow the instructions of this verse, Mataji, if it's not been offered and it's old, such food is not good for both our spiritual or material well-being. I think that's probably as much as I can say if I go by. Obviously, there'll be the consideration, this is food, not to waste it. But simply for the sake of not wasting food, I don't think it's right to jeopardize our health. We need to consider many things. So we need to follow the verse as much as possible. But the best is to offer it to Krishna. If it's offered to Krishna, then the verse is it's antiseptic. It's pure. Even if we eat it 2 days later or 3 days later, we can eat that food with confidence. So we should try to offer our food, everything we have, to Krishna. And in this way, everything will become perfect. All right, are there any other questions or comments or reflections before we close today's class?
Yes, Prabhuji, can I ask one last question?
Sure.
Yes, when we buy oranges, for example, it comes in a bunch, okay, 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. We open it first, clean it, and then offer it to Krishna on one day. But still there are 5 or 6 left behind. Can we offer next day? Can we offer it again from the same bunch?
Yes, we do that.
Yeah.
Even in the deity kitchen, if you go to the cooler, you see the boga.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll be a bunch of bananas. Sometimes I even see there's a big papaya. So the devotees cut the big papaya in half. They wrap it in cling wrap and they keep the other half. And they offer Krishna for his breakfast, the first half. And the next day they may offer also Krishna. So there's no difficulty in that, I think.
Yeah.
It's from my experience in service.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Premila Mataji, did you have a comment?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just wanted to add, and I don't know if you said this because I joined a bit late, sorry. The tulsi leaf, adding a tulsi leaf, even in the water, whatever we offer, it's so important. Is that not right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mataji. Sometimes we cook with the best we can offer, love and devotion we have, but sometimes we may think, are we falling short? But Krishna says if you add a tulsi leaf there on top, he will surely accept it. But the mood has to be favorable. There's one interesting story. In Krishna consciousness, we do not drink tea. In Srila Prabhupada's times, my Guru Maharaj tells a story, there was a life member, and he would drink tea. He loved tea, chai. And this is not like your decaffeinated rooibos tea. This was like the full-blown tea with caffeine. And he would have a little box, and every day before he drank his tea, he would take, once my Guru Maharaj went to his office to sign him up for a life membership, and he would take his little box out, and in his box he would have tulsi leaf. And then he would put the tulsi leaf in his tea, and then he would drink, and he says, Swami, see, everything I have, I put tulsi first. But the point of the story is, we should offer Krishna what Krishna likes and what the spiritual master says. So, yes, tulsi leaf. When we add tulsi leaf, then Krishna certainly accepts it. But we should add our own devotion and love to it too. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for that. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your participation and your attendance. All glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for wonderful class.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Thank you for the wonderful
Devoji.
class.